You have to think about how people are consuming media. When you think of like people our age, I mean, even you, we consume media via podcasts.
You could stop talking about me like I'm ancient. Though.
Yeah, like even you,
and you're old.
So, but like that's how we consume information now. Like I
get it.
I watched
100%.
all of his podcasts
that
he was on.
I love that stuff, man. I do, but it's still questionable.
Yeah, but that's where young men in general are spending their time.
You're right.
So it's just like being on TV, you know.
It's a total blurred line, man. It's really hard to tell what's going on.
Now. Yeah. It's just different now.
It is. And like Elon Musk said, we are the news now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like the people, the podcasters, the people on the information airwaves now, that we have the ability to be the news now, and mainstream media is going to die to that. I love that idea. Especially
and those
because
are
of what we do.
Those are some of the highest viewed podcasts in the world, like on YouTube. So it adds up, and it is a perfect looking storm, but it's just because I think it is so different. Like this wasn't a way to get votes before, but now I watched them all, you know.
And welcome back to Illegal Culture Brands Red Tape Talk. I'm your host, John Ostos, a.k.a. Illegal CEO. And I'm here with one counterpart, Dion Two Cup Larry. Our boy Cody Big Meats Malk is on a puddle jumper airplane trying to make his way back home from Key West, where he's been all week. So we brought in Dalton Nelson, who was already a guest on our show once. And he's a guy that we like to bring on to kind of get heavy into some of the political talks, and he's got a wealth of knowledge. He works for Turning Point USA, so he's an advocate for the kind of conversations that we want to have. So Dalton, welcome back to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me back on. I was really excited to do this again. We did it during the election night. Me or Cody, John, and I. You weren't there.
I was not. I was sick that day.
That's right.
Well, you know what? It was a banger. Yeah, it was awesome.
It was a 6-hour banger,
we were here till like 3 a.m.
I know. That's why I was like, I'm not going.
Awesome.
There's no way I'm going.
You
I'd be there for an hour.
Yeah, it was awesome. We had people on the live the entire time, like start to finish.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's awesome.
It was all Dalton's people too, though.
We did a podcast prior to that too. Remember?
Yes, we did a podcast.
So that one was good too. Yeah, you guys were a big part of getting Trump elected, which is awesome.
The election night when we're watching in here, it was like hard to comprehend right away. Watching people say online it was over, we're gonna win, which sounded great, but it was so hard to understand it was actually happening.
Yeah,
and all the stress that we've been through the last 4 years, and especially like as a company for the last 2 years, 1 year, couple months leading up, it was unbelievably stressful. So then to get to that finish line, it was like an overwhelming feeling of emotions. And you saw Charlie Kirk. I've never seen him be emotional before ever.
Yeah,
he showed a little emotion on his his live that he did for the event, and him and his wife shared a moment there, and it was like seeing that too the next day. I'm like, damn, like awesome. You can relax a little bit now.
Yeah, that's really special, and I mean, you guys work so hard for a goal, and just getting people to get out and vote, which obviously we did. Everybody did in a crazy proportion this year, is special. So
yeah, we spent I don't know how many weeks in Maricopa County in Arizona, specifically targeting that county. It's the second biggest county in the country. I spent 2 weeks there. Then Turning Point also sent people to Wisconsin so we could get Wisconsin to go red, and then obviously Wisconsin and Arizona both went red as we know today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think collectively it was like hundreds of thousands of ballots that we got.
It's awesome.
And that we helped, whether it was elderly people who couldn't get them in, we'd help them. We'd walk them to the mailbox, or we would help them whatever way we could that was within legal means. And then we also ran into tons of young people who they were going to vote Trump most likely. They just didn't know why. They didn't know what to vote for. They didn't know who to vote for in their county. And then we assisted with that. So I had to learn all sorts of Arizona politics for a little bit. Super confusing because in North Dakota here, I have to know North Dakota. Then for work, I go South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, and then Arizona. So I was just, by the time we were done with the live stream here too, I didn't touch I was not on Instagram for a couple of days, no Fox News, nothing. I was ready to be done with it. But now it's just like a victory lap.
Yeah.
For 4 years.
That's awesome. Yeah. Speaking of victory laps in Arizona, Cody saw you. We talked about it on here.
Yeah. I did see Cody there. He texted me that he was there, and then I saw from his Instagram story where he was, and he was way, way in the back. And I feel like this was a moment where I may have overstepped for my exact role, but it's more of a thing like they would probably be more happy I did it than mad at me, because I saw it and there was VIP spots open in the front, so I'm like, I gotta go find Cody. I go and tap him on the shoulder. I'm like, come with me, and then brought him, his mom, and his wife up there, and yeah, they loved it. And I felt really good about it too. It was awesome. The Trump day, when he talked about that, I listened to the podcast where he talked about it. He said it perfectly. I was inside the venue where Trump was gonna come out, and there was like not a seat in the house. It was crazy packed. People were pissed off. People were fighting and yelling about seats because like no one could get a seat for a while. And then it was just a mess. And then I knew he was outside. When he told me he was coming, I asked him how far away he was. And in my head instantly, I didn't tell him, but I'm like, you're not going to get in.
Yeah.
Because I know how many people are in line. I know how many seats you have available. I knew it was over for him. And I didn't check my phone for a little bit. And then he texted me and asked if I could give him a hand. And then I'm like, let's try it. He came all this way. I would feel so bad for him. So I went out there and I was like looking around in the crowd. He saw me just like he said. And I walked by so many people, and people are staring at me. People are looking, they're all pissed off. And I have my staff badge. So I'm like holding it up, walking through, trying to get him to the front. And the lady who was at the front door, she knew we were at max capacity. And she's like, if there's not a seat, she was very deservingly so upset because people were being very rude to her at that point. She was like, if there's no seats, bring him back to me right now, and they're gone. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And then I look at Cody and I'm like, let's go. Let's figure it out. We get in there. I found 3 seats in like the way back, and it's all I could offer at that moment.
Awesome.
But it worked. Yeah.
If anybody out of us 3 especially, like if anybody was more wanting and a better fit to go there and get that opportunity, it was him. So we definitely appreciate that for him. Like that was a special occasion. John and I kept saying, "Oh, what if he got to shake Donald Trump's hand or something crazy like that?" Like Cody would probably melt away. I think he would love that. So
he's a fanboy for sure.
Yeah, he definitely is. Trump was like in and out that day so fast.
Yeah,
he spoke. I think that's how it was a lot of his events though. He gets in, he leaves right away. I mean, he's got
a busy schedule.
Yeah, he's got a lot of people who want to talk to him, get him on a meeting and stuff like that.
All that traveling too, I'm sure is it's kind of time consuming. So
yeah, 100%. So no one in my position got to meet him, but there'll be a day.
What do you think about Trump now that he's won the election, and we're getting? I mean, his inauguration is just in a couple days here now. It seems like a lot of Trump supporters, especially like social media, people and all this stuff, have kind of turned their opinion around on Trump a little bit, and almost like Trump has slightly changed his tune a bit from his campaign trail to now. Like, I know we talked a little bit about this in the gym, you and I. Are people seeing the same thing happening? Like, at least from your standpoint with Turning Point and whatnot, like, do people identify like, hey, something seems slightly different in his discussions and his approach now?
I think that there's a majority of the people who are super, just like Cody, like Trump can do no wrong. So they almost are already getting ready to defend him. And they're just ready to have the ammo for why we should appreciate what he's doing and go along with what he's doing. And I am not one of those people, because like I told you too, I think like all government is maybe a little shady at some point. And I've seen a lot of things on Instagram, Facebook, all social media, and I've talked to people too. They're like, Trump didn't advertise Greenland. He didn't advertise taking over Canada. He won. Now he's going to do these things. And I have like no argument back. The Greenland thing, the only thing that I know about that is there's already military bases in Greenland, and that they have a lot of essentially money on that land that other countries are trying to take. So,
and it sounds like Greenland's open to it.
Yeah, from what I've seen,
like I don't know, the president or whatever they have there. What do they have, a prime minister or something?
I think prime minister.
Yeah, he's reached out and said he's open to the idea of discussing some type of negotiation. So I don't know if it's all bad. I mean, I haven't dug into, I haven't had the time even to dig into like what's currently happening, at this point, but I've seen the jabs from different people, like the Matt Kims and whatnot, of people being like, hey, what's going on here? What's with this new elite billionaire class that Trump's bringing in? This isn't what we were voting for. This isn't what we were looking for. And it certainly wasn't what he was portraying, which I think is bull, because we've seen this. We've seen Elon Musk and everybody supporting Trump and stepping onto, the trail with him. We got excited about, Elon and RFK and, Vivek and all these people coming on board. And then soon as it was a done deal, it was like everyone needed content because their run was over. They didn't have any more content to defend Trump. So it was almost like some of them just started turning on Trump or changing their narrative. But you did see Trump, like if you look at Trump right now, his demeanor is very different. And I don't know if that's just he means business or if that's just the normal political thing that we see. Every president is just trying to be their best output. Once they get voted in, they get all business, or they just turn into that person they're supposed to be or normally are. I don't know. But it is strange. And there's a lot of kind of weird things happening and moves being made that you leave me a little curious. Some of the picks of people that he's trying to put in, to office now are questionable. But we also talked about the love for Israel. That was another discussion that we had. And I know you said that you did question some people at Turning Point, kind of like, hey, why do we love Israel so much? And I get from a biblical standpoint, I get if you're a Christian, there's a lot of reason why you should love Israel as a nation from the Bible. But as it stands currently politically and who they're ran by, I don't get that part. They don't offer us anything beyond that. And so I don't buy the religious belief thing. So that's kind of strange. In fact, we have a clip here ready to roll. I want to play this real quick, and then we can kind of dig into this a little bit deeper here, because this is strange. This is, I believe, Hegseth.
Yep, that looks like Peter.
Yeah. So just take a listen to what the guy's saying here, and then tell me this doesn't feel weird.
Anyone that wants to take the stage and talk about dual loyalty is dead wrong. What this organization represents, what Western civilization represents today, is an understanding that Zionism and Americanism are the front lines of Western civilization and freedom in our world today.
So it's stuff like this, right? This is one of Trump's picks. This is the pick for
Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, Secretary of Defense. That's a kind of extreme statement to make.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird to me, man. I don't know how I feel about it all. And I know, like, Cody likes to joke that I'm an anti-Semite and all that stuff, and I'm not. I do identify the reality of the control that the Jews have of the world, it seems like, right? Especially when it comes to, like, Hollywood and music and, owning all the major corporations and stuff like that. Like, we're finding out that people we didn't know were Jews are Jews, and they're the big moguls and the owners of corporations and businesses that we would have never even known if they didn't come out and say, oh yeah, I'm actually Jewish too.
Yeah.
So it seems weird. It looks suspicious, and the way that we seem to be worshiping Israel all of a sudden is kind of strange. How is like what he said? How did they benefit us? Where he says we're the forefront, of what did he say, the future and all that stuff, like Zionism and Americanism. Like, I've never heard anyone make that kind of statement, but lately it's been really strong.
I've never heard anyone say those words together and how those should be at the forefront. So
yes.
That's very interesting. I mean,
what's Zionism again?
That is like the overwhelming support of Jews.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've had students.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
right.
I was called like an anti-Zionist or whatever the exact word for that is a couple of months back, and I didn't know what that meant. I was in a hotel room on a call with some students, and someone like brought it up, and then said that like on social media they called me this, and I had to like Google it like while I was on the phone because I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
and also how do you be anti something that you're just saying, hey, I don't get it. I'm not saying I'm against it because I don't even know why we're doing it. You know what I mean? But I don't get it. It doesn't really make sense to me, but nobody can actually explain. I've never heard any of these, political figures be like, okay, listen, this is what it's about. In fact, the example you gave about how people said because, we're Christians and Christianity, you should love Israel. And it's just like, okay, that makes sense, but Jesus don't live there anymore.
Yeah, it makes sense, but at the same time too, I don't know if we want to keep church and state separated more in religion from government, if that is the only backbone that we're leaning on is because of Christianity, I don't know if that's, I don't say that's not enough because that sounds bad, but if we're basing our whole support of them off of Christianity, and I'm a Christian, I just don't know, because I like to keep my politics and religion separate.
Right.
I just don't know if that is enough for part of the country who doesn't even believe in God the Father or believe in Christianity at all.
Right.
And their tax dollars are being sent over. They're definitely a lot more angry than I am because I think that we should support Israel. I just question why we do to the extent.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I'm all for supporting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For supporting
But
them
it
as well.
seems to be like we're worshiping.
Yep.
Like we're holding them on this pedestal. And in reality, they don't offer us anything to our infrastructure, you know, when it comes to military aid or anything like that. Like beyond the Mossad, I'm not really sure the connection that's there. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're going to tell me it's based on CIA relations, well, do we trust the CIA even?
I think the odd thing about like protecting them is very weird when they're fully capable of protecting themselves.
Right.
Like
I mean, and you know, they don't listen to us for nothing.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not like we're like, you know, they're not giving us the same love and respect. You know what I mean?
I think it's obvious too, like Hamas is a part of Palestine. Right. Hamas is clearly a terrorist organization. They're clearly doing nothing good, all harm. And I think that...
Well, they took over Palestine too.
Yep.
It wasn't like they just a part of it.
Yep. They took it over. So, I mean, and I think that Palestine overall is it's not in a good state, and it hasn't been for a long time, in a way that if they were... There's a ceasefire now as we're talking, but if Israel were to put their guns down sooner, I believe the Palestinians and Hamas would have wiped them out. And if Hamas put their guns down and Israel or Palestine put their guns down, I think Israel would have just stopped the war already. I think Israel is a lot less pro-war, and Israel has got a lot more people who want the war to stop. Because Hamas, being a terrorist organization, they're not looking for a ceasefire.
Right.
Yeah, but Israel said they want to wipe the terrorists out. They didn't say that.
Well, you know, I'm all for wiping terrorists out. I'm all for wiping every terrorist out. So I just think that Israel is the better of the two for sure, and that they're inherently doing more good than bad. But it's weird that this is such a big debate. This is one of the only major wars in my lifetime that I remember, I guess, or I paid attention to. That I paid attention to and dove into. I don't know if other past wars, maybe in your life, people made it such a political issue where clearly the right and the left were disagreeing so heavily on war. Because I've never seen it before, but once again, I've never paid attention to it before. But like any past wars, I don't think it was this political. Like if people were saying free Palestine, then they were getting shouted at saying different things back and forth. And it was like it just turned into like a riot based off this war. And there was a Palestine rally like in downtown Fargo a couple months ago. I had roommates send me videos, or friends send me videos who were living in apartments down there from it. They're like, they told me to go down there and talk to them. Like,
see, I think that's just more of like copycat nonsense, like BLM and all this other stuff was.
You're right.
Like none of these people know why. Like I've seen interviewers go out on the streets and be like, "Why Palestine? Why do we love Palestine?" And they're just like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like because people don't understand. Like you said, Hamas has taken over Palestine. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, we shouldn't really like Palestine per se, not Palestine, the people, but like the fact that Hamas runs Palestine right now makes them the bad guy in my eyes.
100%.
You know what I mean? So,
100%.
you know, people defending that, and it's the same people that stood for BLM, the same anti-Trumpers, you know, the Antifa people were the ones screaming that nonsense. They were the know-nothing people that couldn't make an argument or defend their position that they stand in for the life of them. And so, yeah, that part makes no sense to me at all whatsoever. And to that point of the ceasefire too, Biden took credit for that ceasefire. I understand. I've seen him say it. They asked him, you know, do we give the credit to you or Trump? And he's like, "Oh, come on, man."
He turned around and like, was that a joke?
Yeah.
And then, like,
but it's like, but everyone knows. Everyone saw the press conference when Trump was like, "I'm giving them, you know, before I get into office, those hostages better be freed, or there's going to be hell to pay."
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Netanyahu credited Trump for his, you know, input and his you know, mediating of the situation, not Biden. You know what I mean? And what Trump did was far more effective than anything Biden has ever tried to do, but yet Biden was quick to take the credit for that. So that was kind of weird.
See, and that was like one of my biggest points in like in why I do like Trump. Like, I don't like a lot about him. I get why he turns off people, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't mind it because I am not as sensitive, I guess. But he is strong in the sense people are scared of him, or at least they have a perception of what he can do to them.
And that's what we need
power. And we
for
need
a leader right now.
Yeah, especially in America where we're looked at as weaker and weaker as we have this poor leadership. And we are letting these wars go on that we're funding for no reason, which is just insane. So, like, I don't know. But with the ceasefire, how long is that going to last?
Right.
Like,
who knows?
That shit.
Who knows? But once Trump's in office, if what Trump is saying is real and true, and not just him blowing smoke up our asses, then we can believe that they probably won't go back to war because Trump's going to have a stronghold on the situation. And I will say this too. So I listen to Real AF all the time, Andy Frizella's podcast. Andy is very well connected to people within government. I'm talking like Secret Service, CIA, FBI guys have made connections with him. He's made friends with a lot of these guys. And about a month ago, he was talking about, you know, the way people have been questioning Trump's position right now, and is what he's really going to do and not do, and things are looking fishy. You know, so Andy had a conversation about this on his podcast, and he was saying that there's a guy that he's really good friends with who is also really good friends with Trump. Like, he's in the rooms where major discussions are being had. And Andy said he got a little heart-to-heart with this guy in his office and just said, hey, man, like, shoot it to me straight. Like, is Trump really going to bring the hammer like he's claiming he's going to bring, or is this just, you know, all BS? And he says he didn't want to say who the guy was because he said people would know who he is. But he said the dude laughed and said, you have no idea what is going to come. Now, that could mean anything. That could mean like, we're going to fool all you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or it could mean like, yeah, he's about his business and it's really real. But Andy says he really trusts this guy. He knows this guy very well. They're really good friends. And he's like, I believe him, man. He's like, Andy says this all the time. I don't love Trump. I don't worship the guy. But I do think we made the right choice. And I do believe if he's going to do what he says in terms of like bring the hammer and fix this nation and make us the superpower again, he believes that's coming, that is going to be a real thing. So I'm very much on the fence. I've kind of always been on the fence, even though, yes, I was a Trump supporter into the election. I vouched for Trump being the better or the lesser of evils, so to speak. I love that he's not politically correct. That's the thing that people hate about him is the very thing I love about him. Yeah. I don't want another politician in office right now. We need a real person to come in and make some real human decisions, not based on power and money, because the guy's had it his entire life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he doesn't need to play that game. Now, from there, we have to understand that our government, our intelligence agencies are extraordinarily smart. We think they're all stupid. We're looking at the Bidens and the Kamalas and be like, my God, these people are ignorant. Like, if a dumb dude like me can see clearly what's going on and how bad all this stuff is, these people must be moronic. I don't buy that for a second. They're way smarter than us, and they're many steps ahead of us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we have to think realistically like that. What does that mean to us if this is just a big kind of pulling the wool over our eyes situation, or if it's really real, or does Trump even know he's being played, you know, and he's playing right into their hand? He's doing the very thing they wanted him to do. Who knows? But I guess within the first 90 days of him being in office, we're going to find out. Yeah.
That was like my biggest fear when we talked about how I was like, oh, I might not vote, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what is the opposition going to do when Trump does start to take things down and correct things? What's the opposition going to do? Last time they had massive riots that were right next door to us, you know, and
that was at the end of his term, though.
Yeah, and half the world fell for it, though, you know. So I mean, if it's at the end of the term or not, this next one, like if we don't have that next person that's set up and ready to take over,
we're going to go right back to where we left off. Yeah,
if not worse.
But that's why I say I try to have a lot of hope in you know, the Viveks and the Vance, and you know what I mean, like these people.
I want to see them go head to head. That'll be really cool in the future.
Either way, it would be a good one, right? Because we believe them to both be the good guys right now. We believe them to be the ones who truly have America, you know, in mind here and not trying to sell us out. Yeah, they're all rich. You know what I mean? So they don't need to get rich off of making bad political decisions on behalf of America and using us as a way to get there. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, where things go from there. But yeah, I don't know, man. it just seems weird. And this whole like worshiping of Israel is kind of strange to me. I'm not an anti-Semite. I don't hate Jews whatsoever. I just don't get their position of power and why we worship them in that sense. You know, it makes me think of things like when we talked about, you know, the cabal and the Illuminati and all that stuff. It gives me those feelings. You know what I mean? It gives me those feelings of like, okay, you know, like we can't just be like, oh yeah, you're supposed to worship them and love them because of, you know, you're a Christian. It's just like, oh, there's a million other things that you should be doing as a Christian that none of these political people do. So why make Israel the one thing they're willing to die on the hill over? You know what I mean? So that's strange. I don't get that part whatsoever.
Yeah, I think like overall with what you said with all the people he's appointed, Vivek, JD Vance, now we're working with Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth. Overall, I think from what I've seen, even like there's a lot of controversy about all these politicians, like left or right. There's these accusations, they did this, they did that, but it's on both sides every single time. For some reason, all the people who are in Congress, the highest of people, they all have one or two accusations. They got 2 DUIs, they've done this and done that. But I do think, I mean, I voted for Trump because, like you said, he was the better of two evils, but I also trust him. And I trust Vivek. I trust JD Vance. I wanted to vote for Vivek, but then he dropped out.
Right.
I really, really do like the people he's putting in office with him, and I think it's going to go really far. There's a lot of people who hate the Elon thing.
Yeah.
But once again, like you said, Elon has been around the entire campaign, jumping on stage, saying that he is dark mega with his black "Make America Great Again" hat. So why'd they wait till Trump got confirmed in office, you know, or as the president to start hating on him? If the whole time it seemed like everyone was down for it. And then real quick, you know, all those big Trump supporters, it was almost like, and I think Cody's the one that kind of pointed this out. He's just like, yeah, but these people need content. They need to stay viral. When Trump was campaigning, that made them all go viral and they had something to talk about every day. And then it was just like, they got what they were fighting for. And now what do? They got to stay relevant. So what better way than to keep a conspiracy theory going on, you know, the political stance?
See, I'm glad I defended him in a little bit, or on Instagram. We won't say who it was or what it was about, but I was like, I'm not gonna let him just throw that aggressive view out like that. I was like, no, I'll defend him a little bit. I don't know much on what he was saying because he hasn't really gotten into it much, but I mean, we'll see in the future.
It's interesting. So let me show you guys another one here. I'm curious what you guys think of this. I just saw this tonight, and so it's kind of interesting.
A source confirming to Fox News that President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect JD Vance will be sworn in indoors at Monday's inauguration. I believe this is only the second time this has happened. The last time it happened was 1985 with none other than Ronald Reagan. There are dangerously cold temperatures that are moving into the region, and it will be the coldest inauguration in 40 years. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kaylee McEnany here with my co-host, Emily Campagno. Also joining us, Lisa Booth, Fox News contributor, Kaylee McGee-White, editor-in-chief of Independent Women's Forum, and Todd Pyro, Fox and Friends First co-host. Well, senior White House correspondent Peter Ducey is live from the South Lawn with this pretty big news this hour. It's cold there. I see you in a jacket, about to get colder, and inauguration indoors, Peter.
Yes, it is cold here, but just know that when you see the White House position, we do have a space heater right here. So it's never too cold here. However, way too cold for everybody that is going to be attending the inauguration on Monday. I'm just off the phone with somebody who works for the president-elect, a source familiar, who confirms that the swearing in and the inaugural address will happen inside the U.S. Capitol Dome. And then President-elect Trump is confirming on Truth Social that everything else is going to move into Capital One Arena. We knew that on Sunday there was going to be a Capital One Arena.
That's awesome.
Is it? I don't know.
I think so.
If, you know, like, again, I'm being suspicious of everything when I say this, but then are they going to show it at least? Are they going to put it on camera and make sure that we can all witness the swearing in?
I'm sure.
Because, you know, it just seems weird that these things keep happening. Like, because of the cold, it's kind of strange. You're still going to go outdoors. So if the cold was the issue, why be like, we're going to be sworn in inside because we don't want to freeze. But then right after, we're going to head out to the courtyard and make this happen. And, you know, we're going to have the celebrations and the music. Like, That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't think it's all because of the cold.
Well, I'm sure, but whatever the factor is that's making him do it,
Yeah.
what's the point of going back outside afterward?
That's
swearing indoors make it so no one can assassinate you, so drones can't kill you, and the cold won't hurt you, but then immediately after going head outside and finishing the ceremony,
Yeah.
you're still at the same risk you were if you would have sworn in outside
Maybe
versus indoors.
maybe
so
you-
that makes that it just feels weird again, man. Another situation where it's just like that. Cool that they're doing that. They're swearing indoors, but I'm still gonna go outside.
I saw people were talking about he was going to do that thing on Sunday and he was just going to get sworn in on Truth Social and that he wouldn't end up doing the inauguration the next day. But that obviously isn't going to be
Yeah, I mean
true.
they've got 3 different countries. See Jason Aldean and fucking is it Carrie Underwood or someone that they're all gonna
It's like
perform.
Busta Rhymes too or something.
But there's my point right there is like,
Yeah.
what better opportunity then to get him? Unless they're going to bring like a body double out to finish off.
That's
you know,
what
the
I'm
rest of
thinking,
it.
honestly. Like, that
Which
would be-
wouldn't surprise me, but also then I'd be weirded out that there's a body double like of Trump that we can't identify as a body double.
especially the way
Because then
he
it's like,
looks.
well, how long have they had this dude? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
think it's like overall it looks good to me right away that they're going to get him inside. And once again, I don't think the weather is like the biggest thing in the world because he knows and everyone there knows there's going to be thousands of people outside still, like tens of thousands of people outside waiting just to see him and be there to celebrate and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm a little nervous for it too. I got the day off, so I'll be on Twitter X all day.
What time is this happening? Do you know?
I don't know.
Not sure.
It would be kind of cool if we were
Live stream it.
live streaming or just on standby to jump in and podcast right away, like maybe do a live
Something happened.
in case something goes off. You know what I mean?
Worst
So we
case
could be
scenario, yeah.
one of the first ones on it. I don't know.
Worst case scenario.
But it's on a
that
Monday,
happens.
and I know you guys that can't all just fucking bail and
I don't
and
work
be
on
there.
Monday, so
But I'm free to make it happen if we wanted to.
yeah, I think like right away to me it looks good. We'll have to see because things like this, obviously, and you shared with me the podcast of Patrick Bet-David talking about it.
Yeah.
And I love PBD. He was at AmFest, and I snuck away from my job there to go and listen to him for a little bit. I got a little bit of anxiety about it because we'll see. I mean, he is
That's the one that you sent, D.
the most
Yeah.
important person in the world right now is Donald Trump, and we'll see what happens with him.
Literally in the world. This isn't just about America's president right now.
Yeah.
The nations all over the world are like, they were screaming, you need Trump in office. Like
That was a good podcast.
yeah,
too.
it was
I
a
like-
really good one. So yeah, and he made valid points about the safety and the security of Donald Trump at this point, and that he's that arrogant guy that he'll step out of the protection just to be like, look at me, look who I am, I'm
definitely
untouchable, and that might be the very thing that brings his detriment to the table.
Yeah, that's what's so stressful because he is probably one of my favorite politicians for sure.
Yeah.
But he also, like, as we know, he's got a little bit of confidence, arrogance to him. So he doesn't.
He's got an
care.
ill ego, bro.
Yeah, for real. And I mean, after getting shot too and standing up right away, we saw how he actually acts under pressure.
Yeah.
A lot of us.
You can't fake that.
I think if I got shot, I would act pretty cool too, but I probably would not. If I got shot,
He
in the
didn't
ear-
know how bad it was though, even when he stood up and did that. So like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because and you got to
he
think
didn't know
about
if he got hit in the
adrenaline and
face or in the
yeah,
neck. Yeah.
you got to think about all that stuff.
just
His
instantly.
character still stayed true. That's one thing I loved about him is like in that heat of the moment, under the pressure, his character didn't falter.
That was a massive moment during the election. I was in Minneapolis at that point, the exact moment it happened at a bachelor party. And it was a combined with the ladies too. So the bachelorette and her girls were all there. I was one of like 2 conservatives in a group of like 12 or 14 people. I mean, there was people who said to me, or like right away, because they know how much I like Trump, and I was just starting with Turning Point, and they're like, "Oh, your dad got shot." Are you and like making actually
Kinda
making fun of me.
funny.
And
That's
I'm
pretty
like-
funny.
I'm like, that's crazy to say that, and some of them, yeah, and I'm like, that's crazy.
Here
Like,
goes
he could've-
daddy.
Yeah, I'm like, he could have just died on. He could have died on TV. We could be watching him dead right now.
Yeah,
like, I would
wow.
never wish Biden would get assassinated. I
Right,
wish
no.
nothing but the best for him. I don't like him, but I also don't think he's necessarily the one I don't like. It's whoever's controlling him I don't like. But
Bingo.
that's a different thing. But with Trump, I just worry coming into this. But like I was saying though, with him getting shot, he showed his true colors and how much of a powerful man he really is and wants to be for the country. So I think the amount of votes he got from that alone was just unbelievable. Then he went right back to Pennsylvania and he got back on the stage and he said, as I was saying,
yeah,
and the
which
crowd
was
went
fire,
nuts.
bro.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
that's
was
like,
fire.
that was just a true gangster moment. You
Yeah,
get shot, you
straight
stand up, go back to the same spot and start the conversation right where you left off.
Let's just be real. That's what sealed the minority vote for
I was
that
gonna say
guy.
the black male vote for sure too. Like they were like, oh yeah,
This guy's tough.
That's
I mean, first he's a felon. You know, he gets these 34 felonies. They're already like, what?
Yeah.
This guy could be our president. You know what I mean? And then that happens too.
if he can do it, I can do it.
You're telling me I could be president?
Yeah.
I only got one felony.
Bro, that is exactly how they were feeling.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's wild, man. I don't know. It's so hard to say where things can go from here. But I really hope, you know, like Andy Frizella's, you know, line to somebody close to the situation who seems very credible. Like when he says that he's in the room with Trump when big political decisions are being made and conversations are being had, you got to believe that this guy's got some good intel and is able to say confidently, like, you have no idea how much he's going to bring the hammer. Like, we're not even prepared, you know, or can comprehend what we're about to see, which is cool. I like that idea. If it's a positive, you know, notion, I don't know.
Yeah.
well, and you want to hope that they just prepare for the worst case scenario at this thing. You know, I mean,
he's still using the Secret Service that was involved with his potential assassination multiple times. That's one of the things that worries me. Like PBD said, you know what I mean? Like he hasn't really made an announcement of having private security on a large scale necessarily.
I wouldn't.
I mean, sure, yeah, I wouldn't announce it. Yeah, you're right.
This isn't his Secret Service. This is still like under the Biden administration.
Yes.
So, and when we were in Arizona, I actually talked to some Secret Service members, and I like to just ask questions to anybody who I think has got like a, you know, they know a lot more than I do. So I like to just pick their brain. And I was talking to him while there was not much going on at that moment, and asked about like if he has seen people who are in the Secret Service who potentially have swayed views and how they act with those swayed views. And he said that those people get vetted out because like if you can't be, I guess, nonpartisan and not show bias in this job, you don't deserve to be there. Because he took like the most moral high ground position on it. Obviously, he had to, especially after Trump got shot and everything else that happened. He basically just said, if you cannot separate your views from this job, he's like, you should not have this job. And I a lot of respect to him. He was super nice about it. And some of those guys don't talk at all, and they don't have to. I mean, they're not there to have a conversation with me. They're there to do a very important job. And so, yeah, that was nice to hear. But at the same time, too, like, I don't know. I can say I'm not biased at all, but I'm going to be biased one way or another, most likely. So that's a position where you really don't know if let's say they don't like Trump, or they're Democrat or they're just Democrat, but they don't hate Trump. And then there's people who just really hate Trump.
I was going to say
super political.
That's a big difference between you and like what you're talking about is like someone who is very emotional and is like, I really hate Trump.
Yep.
Like, I can't do this.
Or think like if someone offers you and your family $10 million to look away for 5 minutes and do something like that. It's just, we don't know the level of corruption that really is out there. We've seen it, but to what extent are these people going to take money for their views? I joked to my manager. I was like, I'm just waiting for someone to cut me a check for my political views. I'm like, I got a mortgage, car payments. I'm like, someone just write me a number and we'll talk. But like, that's actually happening. People are actually selling their political views for money.
For sure. One of the things for me that trips me out, and I know this is a topic Cody hates to get into, but it's odd to me that, you know, like Pat Bet-David, Sean Ryan, or even Theo Vaughn, and all these people are able to all of a sudden during this whole election time be so high profile that they can get political people like Trump on, you know, or even what's his name, Schultz. You know, they get these people on their podcast, you know, and
like
they become
these
renowned podcasters, right? And it was like almost like this, you know, like Theo Vaughn's a comedian, you know, Schultz is a comedian, bro. Their podcast is like hilarious. Yeah. But then all of a sudden they've got FBI agents and CIA agents and all this stuff. It almost looks perfectly timed for all these people to get into these positions and then quickly get political. And I don't know if that was to the benefit of the Trump supporting, you know, side, or if it's to the detriment. You know what I mean? If they're just playing this hand on us and we're seeing a big show happening, because I think it's strange. I think it's strange that someone like Theo Von can have such high political figures on his show when he's like the most non-serious human being on the planet.
The thing is though, like, you have to think about how people are consuming media. When you think of like people our age, I mean, even you, we consume media via podcasts.
You could stop talking about me like I'm ancient. Though.
Yeah, like even you,
and you're old.
So, but like that's how we consume information now. Like I
get it.
I watched
100%.
all of his podcasts that
I
he was
watched
on.
I love that stuff, man.
So,
I do, but it's still questionable.
Yeah, but that's where young men in general are spending their time.
You're right.
So it's just like being on TV, you know.
It's a total
So
blurred line, man. It's really hard to tell what's going on.
Now.
Yeah.
It's just different now.
It is. And like Elon Musk said, we are the news now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like the people, the podcasters, the people on the information airwaves now, that we have the ability to be the news now, and mainstream media is going to die to that. I love that idea.
And those are
because of what we do.
Those are some of the highest viewed podcasts in the world,
right,
like on YouTube. So it adds up, and it is a perfect looking storm, but it's just because I think it is so different. Like this wasn't a way to get votes before, but now I watched them all, you know.
Turning Point did an event with the Nelk Boys in, I think, Wisconsin. I think it was at the University of Wisconsin. Just because, like, obviously the Nelk Boys are like some of the biggest groups. They're the biggest group for like party media to like our age, even younger. Because I grew up watching them when I was in like high school, and now they're massive. And so they Turning Point had the Nelk Boys go out there and then did a big Turning Point event with them. And then they've even got TikTok stars involved in some of the events. And then you see Rob Schneider and just a lot of really famous people who get involved, not even with Turning Point, but just in politics right now. Like you said, it is the way to reach young people for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like Eddie Griffin, even. They got Eddie Griffin, you know, I mean, he's running the whole like conspiracy theory, you know, campaigns on his podcast, talking about all kinds of crazy stuff, which I'm just like,
Tim Dillon, who is just a straight comedian, like he is only comedian.
It's strange.
And he talks all about conspiracy theory stuff. Oh, that's it.
Did PBD have Trump on?
Yes,
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I remember him having Trump.
I think he did too. I'm trying to think of like the higher.
He was very frank with Trump when he was talking to him, if I remember correctly too. I thought that was like pretty cool to see, because he was just, you know, like most people are just like really catering to Trump.
Yeah,
very, very.
And PBD
catering,
was super like frank with him, and which I thought was kind of cool. I vaguely remember what I saw, but I do remember.
Well, I think of other people. Like, I don't think PBD. He wouldn't consider himself a politician, but politicians like Ben Shapiro or Candace Owens or people like that, I can't think that they had Trump on their shows, and it's like the different demographic that they're trying to reach, the people who are not political.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they went to the podcasters and the influencers, and it 100% worked.
Well, Nelk was huge. I'm gonna be honest. Like that's a huge vote capture that those guys don't. I mean, people that young and about that life don't care to vote. But now you have your favorite influencers 100%. Telling you, like, just go do this one day, go vote. It'll be easy. Like, we'll help you. They put a website up on every podcast that they did of helping them vote or helping them register.
That's true. That's
so
true. Yeah. I think like me, like 4 years ago as a college freshman, I was super non-political, but if I saw the Nelk Boys, I would have watched the podcast. Trump, they made Trump, well, he's very likable, but they amplified that. Yeah. And I would have voted for Trump most likely. So that's the future going forward of how they're going to get politicians out there. The unfortunate part for Kamala, like, she dodged the Joe Rogan interview, which that would have been massive for her.
Would have been
and
huge.
The people the interviews
it wouldn't
she
have
did,
though. Let's be real.
Not
it would have been huge, but not huge for her.
Yeah,
Joe
it would have not been to her benefit.
He's like,
she would have got monstered.
It would have been very interesting.
Yes. Entertaining.
Yeah.
He talked about how they wanted the questions beforehand. They wanted editing, and Joe's like, we don't do that here. We don't do editing on this podcast. Like, they wouldn't edit out pieces if it made it look bad.
Yeah.
And he said that he wasn't willing to do that, and their team, they just couldn't come to an agreement, is what they said. But Joe said, I mean, she's one of the two people running for president. Joe would have moved everything around to make that happen. Yeah. Because he was, especially at the time, he wasn't super pro-Trump. But, I mean, after having a 4-hour conversation with him, Trump changed his mind.
He did say that it goes against his show's integrity to rig and stage everything, and he's like, you should have to come to me like everyone else should.
Yeah, on the last minute.
Yeah. So I do remember that, which I love that about him.
Yeah.
And I think I've had this conversation with someone about like my suspicion around all these podcasters blowing up, these comedians, everyone getting people like Trump and stuff on their podcasts. I love the point you guys are making. Yeah, like it's the way they campaigned. It worked out for them. They got people who wouldn't otherwise have paid attention or gotten involved to vote by doing that, and that's a great tactic. But like they question, well, what do you think about Joe Rogan? I think it was your brother Nick. I mean, we were talking about. He's like, I just like, nah. Joe Rogan is so organic, in his growth, bro. Like he's been around since Fear Factor, and you know what I mean, stuff like that. So like the dude, if he is a plant, or if he is with them now, he wasn't a plant. He became one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He became one of them somehow, or they got some dirt on him. Who knows? But I believe he's genuine. I believe his shit is authentic for sure.
His like lifestyle is that of a conservative man. He's really big into hunting. He eats super healthy, is really big into the gym.
Yeah.
But I think at one point he had said he didn't really like Trump that much, and he wasn't super in favor.
Well, he drank the Kool-Aid for a while. Yep, if you remember, he was drinking 100%. The Kool-Aid of the narrative that the media was spinning, and then he started going, wait a minute, the media is really corrupt, and they're really on the, because when they attacked him, it made him look at them differently over the ivermectin thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then slowly he started to just do some more digging and some more and bringing on other people, and that's what kind of got him to go, okay, I think I need to have a conversation with Trump and see where things are. So that was super transformational for the campaign. 100%. That was a pivotal point in Trump's campaign as well.
Him announcing it got like 100 million views before the podcast itself. Him saying he was going to do it just blew up on X and Instagram. Yeah. People were going crazy for it, and that was like you said, that was a massive moment in the election.
It was. Yeah. Before we move too far off of Joe Rogan, you guys saw the Mark Zuckerberg podcast that he did?
Yeah. That's another thing I wanted to bring up before you jump onto that.
Yeah.
Because it ties right in. Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Gates, all donated $1 million to Trump's campaign out the blue. When prior to that, they were on the opposite side of the fence, trash talking and demeaning his campaign and attacking us on their social media platforms and whatnot. And now all of a sudden, what you're about to talk about is he's completely changed his position and be like, oh no, they made me do it. So he's blaming someone else now and acting like he's a bro and all this stuff. His whole look and demeanor is so different.
He looks like he's 28.
Yeah, but he's trying to act like a bro now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's trying to sell us on that look that he's portraying. I saw
he looks like an undercover cop. Like,
but I thought it was
haircut and shit, dude.
I thought it was
weird.
What's
going on here?
Look, Bill Gates, Bezos, and Zuckerberg, bro, $1 million is like us dropping a 20.
Nothing. It's nothing.
It's like, and they all chose $1 million. Coincidentally, it's just like that's trash money to you guys. You know what I mean? So like, it was weird that they all quickly were like, "Oh, here's $1 million for his inauguration campaign." Or, and then they're changing their tune and being like, "No, I'm with Trump, and I want to work with Trump, and I want to have a meeting with Trump and see how we can move things forward." And like, it's super strange because they were very anti-Trump in their behaviors and on their platforms, whatever it may be. So I remember. Even Amazon was like removing, Trump political support, apparel and books and things of that nature. So that's strange that quickly they can flip the script. And I hate that Trump doesn't ever speak on it. He just kind of buys it. He just lets them, you know what I mean? And he seems to be friendly with them. And that's kind of strange to me. I feel like he should be like, F off.
It's tough.
You know what I mean? So it is. It's kind of a double-edged sword for him, I imagine.
You got to keep your enemies close, So hopefully he understands that, but we just don't know because we're not in his head.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It really is. But go ahead about your Zuckerberg thing.
That was pretty much it. Okay. You hit it. Mark Zuckerberg was saying that the government was telling him that he can't allow people to put information on his products, basically, that are putting out misinformation, which it was anything that they were not saying, basically. Right. So if the government didn't approve of it, he wanted it off of there. And Mark Zuckerberg said that he followed along, which I give him credit. He said, I followed along because they were calling and yelling at us. And he wasn't a part of it. He said, I am working on other things. We're trying to.
I was going to make that point. Like, I doubt Zuckerberg and Bezos, are at the forefront of their companies running the show. You know what I mean? It was just like, who used to own Twitter before Elon bought it?
Don't know.
Jack something.
No.
I don't know either.
He's the guy that's married to Serena Williams, is all I know. But so that guy, when he found out all this stuff was happening, he was pissed. He was like, I didn't know that my team was doing this.
Yeah.
Supporting, the left and removing Trump stuff and, blocking and deleting. Like that wasn't under my authority. There's other people that are running the show, so to speak. So I get that part. And I believe that Zuck isn't, at the forefront taking these messages from the Biden campaign and being like, okay, yeah, we're just going to do it. I think there's other people that he trusts to make these decisions who got pressured and probably pulled the trigger on a lot of it. But I still think that he knew more than he's letting on.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And he allowed more to happen than he's letting on. Maybe because it was already in motion or because he was afraid of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he went from the dorky liberal to the testosterone-filled bro that he's trying to be right now. Now that Trump has won, and that is weird to me.
Yeah, that's
even Bezos.
That is Bezos is on testosterone. His wife divorced him, took half his money, and then he got married to is with a new hot.
Imagine
girl,
your wife took half of everything from you, and you're still the second richest man in the world.
Yeah, but do you remember why she took half his money and left him? It was when the Epstein list came out.
Yeah.
So that's why.
That's what Bill Gates' wife did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but the Zuckerberg thing, he looked like he had fear. Like he was in fear of being put on the outside, and he
lied through his teeth about being the hunter. And Joe Rogan was calling his bluff, bro. Yeah. And he was looking at him.
What kind of bow did you have? He's like, I don't know.
So did someone teach you? He's like, oh yeah, I was training, with a guy, and he's like, who's the guy? Yeah. He's just like, I don't know.
Just a bunch of my friends and
just
stuff
guys,
that go,
bros. Like he was like a dork trying to act cool, you know what I mean, in front of a cool guy, which was super suspicious to me. Like he thought he was going to go on and BS Joe Rogan. Like people underestimate how intelligent Joe Rogan is, man.
Oh, yeah.
They think he's just a dumb bro.
The funny part of it is he was like, yeah, I don't really use a gun or a rifle. I usually use bow. And then they started talking about the bow stuff. And Joe was like, yeah, it's actually just more efficient to just use a gun when you're actually hunting that much, And he's like, yeah. And then he asked him more questions about the bow, and he was like, yeah, but sometimes I just use a gun because it's more efficient. I was like, okay, wait.
Yeah, this is what I mean. He was pretending to be a cool guy,
and that's
bro.
where he was pretending, because he was like,
and then he even said, yeah, I'm really embarrassed right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I'm really embarrassed, because he's like, I don't know. I feel really
I should know
embarrassed
my stuff.
I can't remember this.
Yeah.
And Rogan would just give him the most like sus look. He was just like,
It was a good one.
It was almost like Joe relented and took it easy on him when he realized how full of crap he was, Yep.
And then the other one was that I'm trying to think of their names now that we brought them all up. Not Bezos, Bill Gates and Trump had sat down and did a 3-hour
today.
I don't know if they did it today, but the information on it was coming out today.
Bill Gates and Trump.
Bill Gates and Trump did a 3-hour dinner, and they talked about, from what I've seen so far, is mostly just about how things are going to go and what they're looking forward to. And he said they were both very excited. And Bill Gates asked him, how we did with COVID, how we fast-tracked it to come out, or the vaccine. Well, I was looking to see if we could do something like that for AIDS. He's been working on a cure for AIDS, and he's looking to fast-track it, basically. So.
Yeah, so here he says, the article says that Bill Gates disclosed an impressive 3-hour dinner with President-elect Donald Trump, expressing that he was frankly impressed by the interaction. This conversation focused on pressing global health issues and the future of the United States, with both leaders showing a strong dedication to driving progress in these areas. Gates pointed out Trump's genuine interest in maximizing efforts to achieve health milestones over the next 4 years. Isn't that what RFK is for?
Mm-hmm.
And what does Bill Gates know about health? That guy he's built like E.T.
Yeah.
He's got to have heart disease coming his way real soon or something. That guy doesn't know anything about good health. He wants people to eat poison.
Yeah. Lab-created
meat. He's buying up all the farmland all over the country, and he owns the biggest impossible meat processing plant in the world, bro. Like, what does this guy know about health? Is he going to convince Trump that we need to eat fake meat?
Yeah.
And that that cow farts need to stop fucking killing our atmosphere? Like, come on, bro.
Yeah, I think Trump is too, Trump is established. He's got $1 billion, several billions of dollars. He's got all of his golf courses and his resorts. I don't think, or at least I'd like to think, that he would not take money from someone like this, and he wouldn't go away from his views just because he's around someone who is unbelievably wealthy.
Yeah.
And
Right. I don't think he's
I'm
being
not worried
swayed
about
by
that.
the wealth, but the lack of knowledge. Because, I mean, I wouldn't say Trump's a very knowledgeable guy when it comes to health either.
he still eats McDonald's on the plane.
and drinks
he's not gonna stop.
Diet Cokes
Yeah.
all day, every day.
He just
you
says
know
he
what I mean?
loves it. He's not going to stop.
Yeah.
This far.
I mean, and you have to think, and I'm bringing up a lot of like, oh, we can't do this because we don't know. It's a 3-hour meeting, and only Bill Gates has talked about it so far. So, and I'm sure Trump will say, yeah, it was a great meeting. We talked about a lot of good stuff, great stuff.
Yeah.
And
Most vague.
he could have said, hey, you're going to have to give us some of that land back or something. Like, we don't know what they said,
Yeah.
you know, and it doesn't mean they're friends
Right.
just because of what he
I
said.
agree.
So it's going to be, I mean, maybe he was like, hey, you guys give me some money, and now you guys are going to be okay for now, okay? Until I start breaking everything down and you
Right.
guys are actually a part of it in a big sense, then
I
don't know.
heard a thing about it. I think it was from a Joe Rogan podcast too, because you mentioned how Trump has like $1 billion or maybe a few billion, whatever it may be, and these guys, you know, these billionaires have all donated $1 million to Trump, and we talked about how that's really insignificant compared to. And I wanted to make a point because I thought this was mind blowing. Do you know the difference between $1 million and $1 billion? Like most people don't understand how big of a difference that is, right? So like the example was a million in days. How many days do you think 1,000,000 seconds is?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a lot.
It's 11
a lot
days.
of math.
That's 11
It's
days.
11 days. Guess how many days 1,000,000,000 seconds is?
1,000.
32 years.
Holy. Wow.
That's what people don't understand about the difference between 1,000,000 and 1 billion. Now, these guys have multi-decabillions at hand, bro. And they all gave this dude a measly $1 million, and they want us to believe it's because they're on Trump's side.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right? You go from 11 days in millions for seconds to 32 years when it's 1 billion. That's how big the difference between that is, bro.
Yeah.
So when I say that they gave him chump change, that's not me being arrogant, like, oh, like it's their money, they can do whatever they want. Yes, you're right. But why did they all choose 1 million when it's so low level compared to what they actually have to try to show their support for Trump?
Yeah.
That's super strange to me.
You just made me think of something I want to get your guys' opinions on.
Perfect.
My favorite senator, I got the opportunity to meet him when I was in Montana at a private breakfast event outside of Bozeman. I was the youngest and the darkest person by far, but it was a lot of fun. Senator John Kennedy out of Louisiana, he said, and this is all just last year, that last year there was $1.5 billion sent in COVID stimulus checks to dead people.
Yes.
And then in I think this says 24, there was $2.8 billion. Actually, there's 1.6 billion is the number of people that the U.S. says are 112 years old that are receiving Social Security.
Yeah, I just
Clearly,
saw that
that's way incorrect.
Yes.
There's not that many people who are.
No way.
I don't think there's nobody who's
No
112.
way. How many people are in the world altogether? You're saying you're saying
1.7 million.
Yeah.
oh, million.
the
Okay, I was going to say
number
you're saying 1% of the world population is 112.
Yeah, 1.7 million is the number of 112-year-olds receiving Social Security every
Yeah.
year.
I just saw something like that today as well, as they were saying, oh, we found that we were paying Social Security to this many people this past couple of years. It's like, okay.
Well, speaking of nonsensical bull crap and really old people, I want to show you guys this next clip here because this blows. First of all, like I think the point he's trying to make is absolute BS. It's not the way it works, so he's full of crap. But also, what is he really even saying? Right? Check this out.
Just over 100 years ago, a pioneering group of women proposed the Equal Rights Amendment to enshrine the principles of gender equality in our Constitution. Throughout my career, I've been clear. No one should be discriminated against based on their sex. And in order for the amendment to be ratified, it requires 3/4 of the states to ratify it. That benchmark was passed when Virginia ratified the ERA a few years ago. Today, I affirm the Equal Rights Amendment to have cleared all the necessary hurdles to be added to the U.S. Constitution now.
That's not how it works,
The
first
Equal
of all.
Rights Amendment is the law of the land now. It's the 28th Amendment to the Constitution now.
Don't people have to vote on amendments to the Constitution?
Yeah.
These guys just blow smoke and people buy it, bro, and they're clapping for what?
Whenever he gets fired up, people start clapping.
Dozens of constitutional scholars to make sure that it was all within the power to do this. And the fact is, we did.
It's so insane just to see like the way he talks now versus how he talked like 20 years ago. It's crazy.
It's sad. He sounded fairly intelligent back then.
Oh, and he was very aggressive. And
he also looked really different.
Yeah. He looked like a racist white man. I'm not going to lie.
Well, he was very openly one. Yeah, he was very openly one. Yeah.
Yep. And super sexist. No, not sexist. I mean, he was against gay marriage. My bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But now,
him and Obama
he's
both.
all for
Now he's all for changing your genders and you can be no judging genders.
What do you guys make of the picture that's gone viral of Trump and Obama at Jimmy Carter's funeral?
Oh, the videos?
Yeah, them laughing together.
I don't know.
A good time.
It could be a very condescending conversation that they're having because Obama has like a very
side
smart.
laugh.
Yeah. And the other thing that puts the icing on the cake for me that it was probably nothing. It was probably them, jabbing each other professionally in front of cameras because they knew they were being filmed.
Yeah.
Trump shared a meme video that someone made about what they were talking about, which tells me in his eyes that there's nothing there to worry about. This was something you guys don't need to know about because it wasn't what it looks like. Yeah. By him sharing that meme, I kind of got that impression.
Yeah, I agree.
I think nothing of it as well. Yeah. Like I think I liked it. Obama, like without the crazy policies, I actually really liked him when I was younger because I was super young when he was president.
Yeah.
I was just a teenager, didn't know anything about politics.
But you liked him because he was the black.
Well, he was the black person, but he spoke really, really well.
Yeah,
he seemed like a genius, and I was drawn to it. I thought it was great. But seeing it now, the only thing that kind of pissed me off about that whole video and that interaction is weeks before he's calling him the next Hitler and he is a danger to
even
democracy.
Post that you saw his thing that he posted about Biden after that supposed meeting with Trump at the funeral. Like Obama's a snake, bro.
Well, think of all the people, all the Democrats and the liberals who talk about Trump. They see Obama talk about how he is the next Hitler and he is going to take over the United States. And now this guy, the one that you were quoting, is now sitting next to him. They're having a laugh together. It could have been just two super, super wealthy men just joking about something we don't understand. Yeah. But that's the same guy who was calling him Hitler. And now are the people who are supporting him and believed him, are they supposed to sit there and watch that and still believe that Obama actually thinks in his soul that Trump is going to be Hitler? Like, that's what upset me about it, is the Democrats who see that.
They don't identify that, what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. People overlook that. Like, this guy just says whatever he thinks you guys want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He said he's Hitler. Now he's sitting with him. Yeah. If you really believed he was Hitler, would he sit next to him, laugh? They, like you said, they know there's cameras.
You would hold
there.
anger and animosity.
Not even look
him.
at him like
Kamala did. Yeah,
Kamala straightforward.
She gave a dirty look back at them and just turned forward, like, which good, but that's what you would expect.
At least in that moment, she's being authentic.
Yes.
She really hates him.
Yes.
And she really believes he's Hitler.
Yes.
Obama said it, had the Democrat supporters, especially the older ones, the much, much older ones, saying, yeah, Trump is Hitler. And now the guy that you were listening to and quoting, do you really think he believed what he said?
Yeah. Now he's being friendly with Trump, so it looks like anyway. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. That's a tough one too, and we'll never get to know what really went down. And the fact that Trump shared that meme tells us he's.
I think it's nothing important.
Yeah,
and now Michelle Obama's not going to the inauguration, but Obama is. Right. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. Super weird. I think him and Michelle have been in some. There's been a fire in paradise since that chef died.
Oh yeah. Oh, you think that was something big?
Oh no, it was that and the old roommate from college of Obama's that came forward and said they used to smoke crack together and have sex.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
when Michelle disappeared for a while, and Obama was on the trail alone. And it just, ever since then they've kind of been.
That was wild.
Yeah. I forgot that happened. And now you see Mr. and Mr. Obama are not together anymore
all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how we just like let go of information the way we do, like the Cybertruck thing. Yeah, how we were just talking about that.
But it's because this is what they do on purpose, bro. They keep throwing stuff in our faces because they're trying to distract us from all the stuff that's happening. But crazy. That all of a sudden it's water under the bridge.
I forgot that even happened. Until
literally,
so just like that. Why it's only been 2 weeks, if even that. You know what I mean? Yeah. We just talked about it last week. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So that's how quick we move on, bro, and that's how quick they run past these things. Nobody ever really dives in and dissects these things for long enough for us to get answers. They do it long enough to make it content and go viral, and then it's on to the next, bro.
I watch a lot of congressional.
Even for Sean Ryan, sorry, he's on to the next thing. He's out there wherever he's at, Romania, talking about the changing of powers there and the stopping of the election that they're having, and saying why the world should be concerned. And it's just like, wait a minute, you didn't finish that other thing. Talking about the bombing and this guy and who he really was. And I mean, Sean Ryan made that blow up and then just swept it on the rug and moved on to the next thing. It's like distraction. It's
pretty crazy. And I hate, and it's tough because some would say we do it too, but like that fear mongering type thing that these podcasts give off, or like that these content creators give off, it's like really tough because I see it and I'm like, God, it just frustrates me because there's nothing I can do specifically to make it stop. You know what I mean?
Like, and we're just delivering the information as we hear it. We're not the ones getting it firsthand and putting it on the platform. True. You know what I mean? We're just going, hey, did you hear about this? So there's only so much we can do because everything we do is speculation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But these other people like Sean Ryan, dude, you had a lot more to give there. There was a lot more needed to be understood.
Yeah.
He went into hiding for a few days with his family and everything. And, like there was people trying to reach him and there was things going on that we didn't get to hear about.
Yep.
But all of a sudden it's just like, hey, everything's good. I'm in Romania. And let me tell you what's going on here that's going to affect the world. And it's just like, wait, what happened with
the one thing?
You know what I mean? The SF dude, like there's a lot that we haven't unpacked and a lot of unanswered questions. And you didn't give us updates about what's going on with that stuff and this other shoemaker guy or whatever, that terminal WCO dude. Like, where are we at with this stuff? You know what I mean?
He basically made it so that we believe that this guy's not actually dead, the Cybertruck driver,
and then moved on.
That was it. It was
crazy.
like, okay.
That's crazy.
It's things like this and platforms like this. The problem starts when people stop asking questions.
Yeah.
So if you guys weren't challenging, it's not even challenging the narrative, but asking the questions, whether it's like conservative or Democrat politics, the questions need to be asked because I think we all agree to some extent. We know, well, actually, we definitely all agree. We have no idea what's really going on. And like you said, they talk about it for 2 weeks and then tomorrow it's gone. So the questions that we can actually keep asking, keeping the conversation going is what's going to help. Hopefully people get answers they want. And Trump has said many times he wants people to know this. He wants people to know that. He's going to release these files and these files. He said that months and months ago. So I really hope that he's the president that gives people the information they really want to know.
Yeah.
See, I just don't. There's some things that we just don't get to know. I know that, and that frustrates me because like the assassination attempt. I
think there's a lot that we shouldn't be allowed to know though too, for the sake of national security.
Exactly.
And stuff, So I'm not always mad about not knowing, but there's some stuff that I wish we could know.
Yeah, but like, this young kid what got him to really go and shoot the president, and how was that so poorly
and how
together?
How is he more swift and evasive than a special forces guy who was trained in his ability to be special? And all of a sudden, this kid, we still don't know where his phone was on. He had all kinds of encrypted messaging.
Nothing.
He had all these communications with outside sources. I mean, the things that his house was swept clean before anyone was able to go in and investigate, like all the information we didn't get about this kid. But now the special forces guy put some fireworks in a undestroyable Cybertruck. And we're just like, oh, we got everything we need to know on this guy. And it's factual. And you should just run with the information we're giving you. It's like
that
that.
pisses
I
me
don't
off.
buy that for 1 second, bro.
That's so frustrating.
I don't buy
Well, it
that
said,
for
like,
1
you
second.
could see him walk by because it was not a rifle he put together on that roof. He walked with a rifle. In an outdoor event like that, you'd assume Secret Services spread like a mile.
Well, it was in his
radius.
backpack. It was a foldable.
Yeah.
That's how he did it?
Yeah, it was foldable, so it was in his backpack.
But he climbed up
And
a
how did he
building.
get a ladder?
Yeah.
Where did he get the ladder? There was
Well, they said he
people-
didn't use a ladder. They said that he stepped up onto a air conditioning unit and then pulled himself up from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
there
what
was.
I heard too.
Did you guys see reports that there were cops who were notified? There was videos
Yeah,
before
that
the
was
shooting
factual.
of them like pointing up.
Yeah,
to
there's
him
a
before it
guy on the
happened.
roof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they're like, I don't know. We'll see what
But all
happens.
the communication lines were broken at that point too to the Secret Service, from what I understand, because some of the cops were
How
like, "Yeah, we were
convenient.
trying to communicate it to them, and we just couldn't get through." And like, it was super sus, bro. Super.
I don't know
sus.
why they didn't go up there. And I mean, honestly, if you're a cop in that moment, this might be unethical, but just shoot in the air.
Right.
Because then people are going to freak out.
Yeah,
People are going to
run
know.
away.
Get Trump out. Because if there's a shot in the air, Trump's not coming anyway.
Yeah.
So to protect the president, if you're a cop and you see that happen, pull the pistol out, shoot in the air. Trump never
but
gets
then
shot.
you're gonna get shot.
Yeah,
So
then you
that's-
I'll just throw the pistol and just get down and be like, I'm so
you
sorry.
gotta
he's up
run
there.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, it's super weird. And what bothers me is
Don't do that.
how much.
Don't do that.
Don't
Nobody
listen
do
to
that.
Dalton. but like, bro, Trump's team got more intel.
Yeah.
They know more than what they've told us, and I don't see how it's a matter of national security to not tell us.
Yeah.
And maybe he's gonna wait till he gets into office to give us more truth, because he's saying a lot of stuff like that too. Like, we're gonna know things.
The
day
drones.
one. The
I don't think we're
drones.
gonna know the drones.
Well, he said that though.
I don't think we're
He
gonna
said
know.
day one, I'm going to tell you guys exactly what the drones were about.
I don't think he's gonna. I think that.
I hope he does.
I think it.
It would suck if he starts out his presidency
Just
as
not
a
getting
liar.
Yeah.
Because he literally said day one. I think he even said within an hour of becoming president, you will know, or something
Well,
very drastic
He
like
loves
that.
to over exaggerate.
Yes.
What
that's
if that
that's
is
his
a
character.
big deal though? Like, what if it's that there's bombs in the U.S. that we don't
Yeah.
know about? What if that's what they're looking
But,
for?
but
Do you
that's-
want to know? I mean, yes, you want to know,
Yes,
but
I think that's one of the things, like I say, that's a matter of national security.
Exactly.
They can't tell us because people will go crazy, bro.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that one might have been a big deal. I think
Maybe.
it might have been a big deal.
But if it was, why did Trump say they should be telling us what it is?
I
I
don't-
don't know why they're not.
Make 'em
they
look
should be
bad. I
telling you
don't
what
know.
it is. Yeah, I mean,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Again, you're right. He could just be doing it to smear them a little
if
bit.
we find out it's just a gag, though,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd believe it. That's the thing.
Okay,
Like,
that's a good point, because they'd be like, "Oh, it was actually just nothing." And
a
like,
bunch of
okay, well, you're
civilians
gonna
were,
say that anyway.
yeah, we're gonna be like, no, it wasn't.
There's a
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, it was something more. It was China, fool. It was China. It was Owl's homies.
Yes, exactly.
There's a movie on Netflix. I think it's called Leave the World Behind.
Yep.
Have
Yes.
you seen it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fantastic movie. But you know what? As the drones came out, that made me think of that movie right away, because in that movie, they talk about like the demise of the United States and how it's going to fall is going to be within.
Yep.
It's going to
Oh, yeah.
start, which obviously I
The
think
Bible says that about humanity in general, that we'll be the architect of our own demise,
Yep.
bro.
Yeah.
and the biggest threat to the United States, I think a lot of people would agree, is the United States and the government itself.
Yes.
Because we just don't know the
Yeah, it's
The
not
extent of the
outside
control.
characters. It's us.
Yep.
We're our own biggest threat because we're so corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even look like back, I know they just banned Red Dye 3, I think it was.
Yeah,
and
but they
talked
missed
about,
40.
Like 36 years ago, they said that was not safe to put in products for your face,
Cosmetics.
but they let it go on for 36 years for you to eat it.
Yeah.
And they knew the effects it's had on rats and other animals. So it's like things like
Cancer
that too.
causing.
Yeah.
The government has been just, and this is just crazy conspiracies, but I guess now we know them to be
I was
true.
gonna say that one's not.
Yeah, now
that
we know
one's
it's
real.
true. Of the government just knowing it's directly harming its citizens,
Yeah.
while other countries like the UK are taking out these red dyes in Gatorade to make it more healthy.
But we know these things are taking place for a lot of specific reasons. Like, one, I can say with great certainty, is Big Pharma's involved. Right? They want people to be sick, and so they're paying off government, bro. They're giving them millions and millions of dollars to just let it ride, bro. You know what I mean? And these people can't not do that stuff. They're already bought in. It's the same reason why they don't go after Nancy Pelosi for insider trading, because they all do it. It's the same reason why they didn't go after, Biden for giving his son, basically the freedom for the next 10 years to commit any crimes he wants, and any crimes that he
was
supposedly
crazy.
didn't do, he can't be tried for ever. It's just like, if you're innocent, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the argument is, well, if someone could become president with 34 felonies, then by all means you should be able to, you know, do that for your own son and this and that. I'm just like, that's not real, man.
Makes
That's
me
all
so
BS,
mad,
man.
that argument.
Yes.
Because people who talk about the 34 felonies, they don't even understand what they're talking about.
They don't even understand that, first of all, they were all dropped because they were fraudulent.
The hush money case, there's like no such thing as a hush money case. It's essentially an NDA.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only issue that people have, and the reason that it became criminal, is because people, and I don't agree with this either, because they said the money he was getting for his campaign the first time could have been money that was given to Stormy Daniels, but at the same time, he's a billionaire. He doesn't need that money.
Yeah.
He gave her 34 checks to keep her quiet. If I'm paying you $10 a month for you not to say that you saw me do this crazy thing, that's not a crime at all.
It's also not an admission of guilt. It's you're protecting your image, which a lot of these people have to do. You know what I mean? Like it's a game that women unfortunately like to play. This whole Me Too movement is like, hey, I can totally make your life difficult and ruin you in the public eye right now, unless, you know what I mean? It's kind of how this whole like Cassie thing and P. Diddy thing is playing out.
Yeah.
His attorneys have come forward and said, we've seen a lot of the tapes, and she was very willing and she was very in control and excited about what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just acting like she's the only person that we're talking about here in terms of what Diddy's done to people. So they're using her as the example. And it's just like, even still, like, she got 30 million from him to shut up, to not move forward with it or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So
I think it was 30.
So like, that's not an admission of guilt. And I'm not defending Puffy at all. I think he's guilty as all out, and he's a piece of work. You know what I mean?
Forever.
But sometimes you have to pay people off to protect your image and your brand and your stocks and things. You know, there's all these things involved that you have to protect to not let something happen. Are you going to do a Cody right now? He's like, Cody's not here. I better use the bathroom for him.
I mean, I 100% agree too. Like, it's essentially just an NDA, which, I mean, when I went to Nashville for my bachelor trip, we joked and we all signed an NDA that no one did anything exciting. But
what happens in Nashville stays in Nashville.
Like, we have an NDA, and that's not a crime. I've heard multiple lawyers.
It's not an admission of guilt for you either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You didn't do anything wrong.
No, I didn't. No one will ever know. I've listened to multiple lawyers talk about it, and it's so frustrating because people just yell 34 felonies, he's a felon, this and that, and it's so just.
That's what they wanted out of that, though. That's why they did it. Mm-hmm. They wanted people to label him that way because they thought it would help them, you know, defend the presidency from his entrance. You know what I mean? So yeah, what a gimmick. It's like that though, man. The world, especially the United States, we're staged in a way where you can do these nonsense things and get away with it because laws.
Now, I want to bring it a little more local. I think you and I talked about this, right? I sent it in our group chat. Two things. The first one was when Gate City Bank had illegal immigrants attacking Gate City Bank. I think they were taking money either through illegal wiring. I don't know exactly how it went, but there was illegal immigrants in Fargo. Like 2 months ago, I posted on my Instagram story.
Wasn't that gang from
Tren de Aragua?
Yeah.
Venezuelan gang.
Yep.
They were doing some kind of illegal workings with the bank here, and then they got caught. We have no idea what happened to the illegal immigrants who did it. Hopefully they're across the border somewhere. And then recently, a young man named Fidel, who I told you I'd worked with in the juvenile center a long time ago, and then I saw his picture on the news. And I was like, I told my fiance, I'm like, oh my God, I worked with this kid. He was nice to me, but I didn't know he was an illegal immigrant. And the entire time he was in the Clay County Juvenile Center taking in government funding, and he was not even a legal citizen. And he was, at that time, I believe he was fighting felony charges at the time while he was in the juvenile center. So he's already a felon. He is also not an illegal immigrant. And now he's still an illegal immigrant, and he just committed another felony. And I don't know. I'm assuming he's probably in Cass County right now, maybe Clay County in jail, one of the two. But I hope people in Fargo realize, and not Fargo, Bismarck, Wahpeton, everywhere around here, how local the illegal immigration crisis, the border invasion is going to be. Because way up here in North Dakota, people argue with me that it's even happening. But I've spent so many weeks in Arizona this year. You can see illegal immigrants on the sidewalks, on the streets. They're wearing yellow jackets. They're ready for work.
Yep.
But you don't see that in Fargo. So it's almost like, it's probably not happening. I don't see it. I don't travel. I don't know anything because you don't go anywhere. And all you see is the MSNBC who's telling you it's not that big of a deal and it's not that much of a problem, but it's happening and it's here. And I think it's really important that we understand it. And I'm sure you guys both have seen an illegal immigrant in Fargo within the last week, probably maybe even today if you're out in public much. I'm sure through the gym, I'm sure people come through and they're not all bad, but unfortunately they all committed crimes and it's just, they have to go.
Right.
So
yeah, I agree. I'm all for it. I'm all for deporting everyone that isn't here legally. I don't give a damn who or what they do or are doing. You're here the wrong way, and it sets a precedence if we don't take action that, you know what, you can break the law if you did it this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think that's a precedence we should be setting right now in the current times that we're in. I think everyone should go back, start over, and do it the right way.
I agree. I'm all for legal
Especially
immigration.
it'd be different maybe if there was no way for them to come correctly.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there is. We're not anti-immigration. We're anti-illegal immigration.
Now you lived in California and were you close to the border?
100. I was. So San Ysidro is next door to Tijuana.
I was gonna say,
And that was like 20 minutes from where I lived in North County when I lived in San Diego. So
Was it easy for you to get into Mexico and back?
Bro, I used to go there when I was 15 and go get drunk at the clubs. Me and all my friends at 15 years old would cross the border and go into. They don't card you. They don't care as long as you got money. We would even get arrested. You'd be walking the streets. The cops would pull you over, bro. They'll throw you in the car, drive around the corner, park, and go, how much money do you got? And we would all keep a 20 in our left pocket and stash the rest of our money because that 20 was to pay them off when they arrested us.
Where'd you stash the rest of your money?
Wherever we could stash it. They didn't pat you down or check you.
I was going to say your socks?
Yeah. Sometimes it was in our socks. Yeah. Sometimes you stuffed that in a baggie. You know what I mean? No,
yeah, gross.
No, but you always kept a spare 20 in your left pocket so that you knew when they said, hey, how much money you got? We would all reach for our left and be like, oh, I only got 20. And they'd be like, that's okay, give it to me.
Really? Wow, that's
and we would give it to them and they would let us go. But 15, I would get drunk in TJ, bro. I'd go to clubs, bro, out there. Like, there was a club out there called Tequila Sunrise. It was like the gangster club. You go there and it was LA fools and San Diego fools on each side, bro. And they were partying and throwing gang signs. And, man, we would just be in there causing havoc, but as teenagers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they don't give a fuck. And you can cross the border very easily, you know, and then coming home, too. As long as you had an ID on you, you were good, bro. And it didn't have to say you were 18 or nothing.
They should have deported your ass.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I'm an American, so they couldn't.
No, deport you back to the U.S.
Oh,
You get your ass back to the U.S. right now.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean, it's crazy like that. They really don't care.
Yeah.
You know, so you can do anything. It's pretty fucked up, bro.
Think of Angel doing that.
Yeah, I know. I can't even imagine him going there at 18 right now. You know what I mean?
Imagine
let
that.
alone 15, you know?
Crossing the border then.
But in the same scenario, like my sister-in-law just got shot by a 17-year-old.
I saw that was on the news.
That's crazy.
I saw you repost it too, but I think I saw it on WDAY or something.
I think my
like
brother did an interview with the news that was on, yeah.
I was having dinner with my family, and I told him, like, that's John just told me that's his sister.
How old is the kid?
17.
Damn.
Neck tattoos.
Yeah, so he's being tried as an adult for attempted murder, like 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, brandishing, a firearm in public, like all these different, like they're hitting him hard, which they should because
100%.
I mean, what a punk.
He could have killed multiple people.
Yeah. People that are just in their house celebrating New Year's, about to go to sleep, fucking little kids, like you shot in an apartment in the hallway. Like at anything.
So I'm not excusing the kid. He had no justification. The reason why the fight happened in the hallway, they were at like some New Year's Eve party within the apartment complex. My brother and a couple of their friends and his wife were drinking for New Year's Eve too, and the kids were all asleep in their rooms already. And they heard all this chaos and they looked out and they're just like, they saw like, they said, my brother says like 9 dudes just scrapping in the hallway of the apartment complex. And he tried to close the door and be like, let's just go back in. And his wife was like, she was already buzzed up, I think, but she was like, nah, fuck that. Look at them. Like she wanted to break it up and she started yelling, get the fuck out of here, and trying to shoo them off. And they took off running. And she thought it was because she scared them off. But what I found out from a police officer that trains at my gym who was there that night, he got called there. He said, no, that kid that shot got stabbed in the ass amidst the fight. And that's why he pulled his gun out and shot down the hallway. That's why he took off running in the first place. And on his way out, like my brother says, he saw them cut the corner, like to go out the door, you know, in the hallway. So they couldn't see him anymore. And then he just saw a hand reach around the wall. He said, I didn't even notice if he had a gun. I just saw a hand come around. And then you hear pop, 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 pop. And everyone, including my brother, he's like, we all just hit the floor and we're just laying down, like freaking out. And he said, by the time I turned around and looked up, all the other people that were responsible for this interaction had already ran into their apartment complexes. So there was no one in the hallway but him and his wife. And he said he turned to his wife and he's like, Kika, are you okay? And she's like, I'm hit, baby, I'm hit. And he was like, no. And like he said the fear, you know, just set. He thought she was dead. Imagine. You know, he saw all the blood and he's freaking out. And he said she did like stand up and try to walk and then fell to the ground again. She's like, I'm hit. I'm in my leg. It's just my leg, you know. And so he said he immediately applied some pressure, try to like, you know, stop the bleeding from having to, you know, and then I don't even know if they called 911. Someone else did. They tried to like take her to the hospital right away.
Yeah.
And then I guess like the cops were trying to question her and they got into a big argument with her because she was buzzed up, I'm sure. They were partying, you know what I mean? And she was more concerned with getting to the hospital. My brother was more concerned with his wife that he thought was dying to get her to the fucking hospital, you know what I mean? And so the cops are trying to ask questions and she got pissed off and she's like arguing with them like, I don't know, like I got to get out, you know, like, so it was kind of infuriating for them too. And the cops were understanding when I talked to him. He's like, yeah, I get it. You know, I get it. He's like, but we had a job to try to do still too. Yeah. So there's that. The really crappy part is the bullet's still in her leg. It was really close to like a main artery. And so they didn't want to take it out. So I think that's been what's like, you know, crippling her for the past like week or two is that they got kids at home, man. She's a stay-at-home mom. My brother, you know, works all day. And so now they're needing a lot of help to work with the kids, you know, and help her out and stuff. And I think she's coming to. My brother said she's moving around a little bit. She's on a walker because her leg is so bummed right now because the bullet's still in her, man. Yeah. So I don't know. It was crazy, but
that rips your shit. I mean, it's a bullet.
Yeah. And to the point, you know, like, bro, youngsters these days, man, the ignorance level is at an all-time high. Yeah. At an all-time high.
Why bring it out of the apartment though? That's what
that's why the fight started, right? They were in this party. It must have been people they know, obviously, but it was a bunch of youngsters, I'd imagine, from what it sounds like. And they were acting all hard and, you know, with music, and I guess he kept flashing his gun, and so they were getting mad. So they kicked him out. They're like, get out of here. You know, we don't want that nonsense here. Yeah. And I think that's what started the big scuffle. And so it sounds like the kid that stabbed him did it in self-defense. Like these guys were whooping on these people or something like that. I don't know, you know, and I there might have been girls involved even, I don't know. But he got stabbed from what it sounds like in an act of self-defense. And then now he's trying to make the claim that it was self-defense that he shot.
Fuck all that.
You don't get, that's not how it works.
You shouldn't have a gun.
You don't get to go like this and shoot down a hallway with a bunch of random people and call that self-defense, bro. That's attempted murder. That's attempted murder. You made no accurate shot or decision at that moment.
As you're running away, and they had a knife, not a gun. Yes. They had a knife.
Yes, and you're already clear. You're running. Yeah. You're off the way out the door already, and you reach around and use your gun. That's just ignorant mentality.
It's way worse here than people think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's getting worse, too. That's the thing. It's like it's progressively gotten this bad over many years that I've been here. You know, like I remember when I first came here, this was 1999. There was no gangs, no crime, no nothing here, bro. Like, this is what made me want to stay. Was like it was a breath of fresh air for me. I came from, you know, California, and it was like I was in the streets out there, man. We were doing the gang. My whole family's in gang related, you know what I mean? So like I came from that lifestyle. I came here and none of that was here. And I was like, ooh, this is different. This is crazy, slow pace, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's unfortunate that kind of stuff is coming here. But yeah, again, youngsters have access to stuff they shouldn't. I looked at this kid's profile on Facebook, and it's like pictures of him and his homies brandishing their guns with lasers on them. You know, they're pointing at the cameras, his profile picture, pictures of him smoking, you know, like just chill. They're just looking thugged out, you know, and it looks like he thinks he's a blood or something. I don't know, man. Yeah. But it sucks because it's copycat mentality, but they're doing it all the way now. They're not just pretending to be these guys. They're acting it out. They're crashing out just like they're crashing out like the real ones would. The difference is where I come from, where the gangs really existed, man, there's logic behind the defense. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's to an extent, you know what I mean? Like they really have to defend themselves and shoot for their own safety. It's like a kill or be killed mentality. You know, I've had my own enemies shoot at my mom in my front yard, bro. So like that is a real deal thing. Here, you got in a fight with a bunch of little white boy North Dakotans, bro, and you decided you was so gangster of you to shoot them all.
Yeah.
That's not gangster. That's thug mentality, bro. That's
You're
ignorance.
talking, I mean, like, and what we hear, what I guess you could say you hear from music is like, okay, we go and we're going to go shoot this person because they killed my cousin or my little brother or whatnot. It's not like, I just
typically that's what it's about. You know what I mean? Like drive-bys and all that stuff have happened, but I knew specifically who shot at my mom when she was out front of my house because they yelled their gang out. You know what I mean? And I knew those were my enemies. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, that kind of stuff happens. This was not that kind of a situation, bro. You could have took an ass whooping and, you know, been around here to still act like a wannabe ass thug. Instead, now you're facing a really long time in prison.
My first interaction with any of that stuff was when I was working at the juvenile center. There were these kids from Fargo South that said they were in OCF. And that was apparently a really big thing at the time. I don't know if it is now, but a lot of them were coming into the juvenile center in and out, and they all were saying they're OCF. And it was a really big thing.
What does it stand for, did you know?
Only Crime Family.
Oh, that's cool.
There was a couple
Sounds like
gangs
a tagger gang where I come from.
A couple random gangs in Fargo that were coming up. I remember because my sister
you went to school in Fargo, right?
In Moorhead. But my sister used to hang out with some bad people. And so she would tell me about them. And I was like, oh, interesting. Maybe you should not hang out with them. But
the kids from Minneapolis were a lot more entertaining because at least there it's like a little more dangerous. Well, actually, a lot more dangerous.
Real. They got real gangs.
Yeah. They would talk about like.
They got kings and folk. And
I got to learn about so much of it. I was going to school for criminal justice at the time. And then I went from going to school for criminal justice, just going off a book and looking at a screen, to going and working with the kids who came, said they were Notreños or Sureños in Minneapolis. Yeah. And they'd come here and because the juvenile center there in Hennepin County is always full. So they're coming up here and they would tell me their stories, and it was actual education to an extent.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know about a lot of that stuff, but yeah, I'm glad it's not that big here. But
yeah, it's unfortunate, but rap music is real. Some of it is real. Like
it is.
Yeah,
it doesn't justify it, but it's real.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. It's a different type of lifestyle that I'm so glad I don't have to know, you know, like and be a part of. I know it, but I don't have to be a part of it.
It's why I love being here, man, because that fear factor doesn't exist for me here.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? When you come from where it's really happening and you come to a place like this, the only thing that sucks is seeing people trying to start it up here.
Yeah.
It's just like, come on, man. Like I'm here to get away from that shit. You know what I mean? And you're running towards everything I'm running from. That makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no sense. But that's the difference of not really knowing. So.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen like actual what it really is like to be in the gang environment.
Yeah, and that's my mom, my uncles, and my dad. Everyone. My dad was from a big gang in LA. I won't say the name, but yeah, like my uncles. That's how my dad and my uncle knew each other. And how my mom met my dad because they were gang banging, bro. They're all East Siders. They're Sureños, but their gang is East Side. So, I grew up in the gang life, bro. All my father figures are gang bangers, bro.
It's just crazy to imagine that lifestyle. I mean, I grew up in Oaks, North Dakota, less than 2,000 people, like 30 people in my class. So like, imagine that's even out there.
Yeah. In fact, one of my uncles, I talk to him all the time. He's cool as shit. He wants to come on the show. He's like, man, I should call into your podcast one day and talk some shit. And I was just like, well, I'm like, we're not live really, so you can't really do that. I said, but we should just have you on like on a Zoom one day, man. And we got to come up with a topic that we want to talk because he's a straight up
deep into it.
Yeah, he's a straight up gangster, bro. Like, and he still runs with all the old homies. They're veteranos now, bro. But he's a Sureño, and his gang is East Side Paramount. So he's from a real big gang out there, and he wants to come on the show. I'm like, I just gotta figure out how to get what we bring him on for. That'd be cool. It'd be better if he could come in person.
It would be fun to have him on for sure.
Yeah, he's cool as shit, but and he sees things the right way. He's a big Trump supporter. He posts stuff all the time online about like the politics stuff and all the stuff we do. You know what I mean? He's about that stuff, which is why I made him communicate so well and stuff. But he's always been like one of the coolest uncles we had. He was a break dancer too back in the day. Like I don't know if you guys remember like movies like Breakin' from back in the day, but there's a guy on there, Turbo. Well, my uncle was locked up with him in prison. And he knows him as Shrimp, so he taught my uncle how to break dance. He's like, I mean, when I say he's a breaker, like he popped locks. He was dope, bro. Like
they did battles in prison, and stuff.
All that. But he's also like a musician, bro. He can play tons of instruments. He loves like jazz and funk and all that stuff. So like he's just an all around, entertainer kind of dude. But he was a straight up gangster. He was a boxer too. So I mean, like he's well rounded, bro. And so he's a little smarter than the usual. He's more educated. And he sees reality for what it is. But that's his life, bro. Like you don't get to just walk away from it when you're in it like he's in it. You know what I mean? He's forever down for his set, but he doesn't bang anymore. You know what I mean? So it's just different. But yeah, it would be cool to have him come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think him and Cody have a lot in common.
No, not at all.
Cody
but
likes
I
to
think
sit
Cody
for
would
those.
be intrigued by it.
He does a good job.
Yeah.
He does a good job. We had Poetic Flacco on here, and he held his own.
Cody was like, I'm not going to have any conversation in this one, but Cody jumped right in. He
Figured it out.
Yeah.
Once the conversation gets going, it creates itself.
We got on him about how his political views, because they were pretty idiotic. So I mean,
really?
Did you watch the Flacco?
You should watch.
It's like
just
3
the
hours
end.
long, but
the ending is where we talk about his
politics.
political stuff because
He disagreed with you guys?
he
well, he's a
basically
Trump supporter, but
Yeah.
he voted for Kamala.
Exactly.
Oh
Short.
my
Long story
goodness.
short, we don't even have to get
Well,
into
he
it
said
anymore.
it
It
the
was
way
stupid.
that you know, like people were saying. He's like I like Trump. I believe in everything he believes in, but I can't put no foul in presidency,
Yeah.
bro. So I voted
I
for
bet
Kamala.
that just made you guys just
Oh, we
erupt
went
and
at him.
you're
We
like-
went at him.
Yeah,
you should watch it. It was cool.
It was like, why would you even say something like
Yeah.
that? Like, why would you
Clearly, he doesn't know politics as well as he was pretending. he
Yeah,
did.
it was silly. It was like he is one of the people that are brainwashed to think like
Right.
this is right.
Even
That's
though
like
he
90%
supports
of
Trump.
people.
It was very weird.
Yeah, it was strange.
Very weird.
Well,
I do
Go
got
for
one
it.
more
Yeah,
thing.
no, keep going.
Wendy Williams came out on the Breakfast
wait,
Club podcast.
she's still functional?
I guess.
I thought she was like all jacked up and like diseased and not
From
like,
what?
You haven't seen, like, bro, the reason why her show got canceled, she caught some kind of disease. People are saying it's because she said some stuff about Beyonce fake pregnancy. Remember, I don't know.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, but since then she lost her show and she caught this disease where like I want to say like MS or something crazy like that, where she just got real handicapped.
She just voiced in, so maybe
Okay.
that is true. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I didn't think she was dead, but I really thought she was like a vegetable now.
She might be still. I mean, because
But how did she come out all of a sudden?
she just voiced in on
voiced it. Okay,
yeah,
well,
so
maybe
just like over the phones on the Breakfast Club. She said, "I'm so glad Jay-Z's finally got what's coming to him. If you guys knew half the stuff that I knew way back in the day,
I saw this.
he'd be rotting in jail right now, and he's gonna, and I can't wait for that."
Yeah,
It was
beautiful.
insane. I was like, "Oh,
Did you ever
shit.
see the video? I think we shared it amongst each other of Jay-Z like on a Saturday night going to a hotel to meet with Puffy. And Puffy opens the door and Jay-Z and a couple dudes are there. And when he opens the door, there's a bunch of little girls sitting on the couches
I
in the
didn't see
background.
that.
And they said something like, "Oh, look how we doing it over here playing." And Jay-Z was like, they like dapped up and we're going into the hotel room. It's on film and like people have been sharing it being like, that's
I've not
sus.
seen
And
that.
these little girls were like done up, bro. Like they were little girls, but they were all dolled up and they were just like
Oh.
sitting on the couch behind
See,
Puffy in the hotel room.
If he goes down, if P Diddy goes down, Jay-Z better go down real
Yeah.
quick after, or else I'm gonna be frustrated because like that shit. Either he's a conspirator to everything that Puffy did, or he put him onto it. Whatever it is, there's no way they don't have some sort of correlation to each other. You know
There's
what
some
I mean?
demonic stuff going on in the industry like that, though, bro. Because like Jay-Z and Beyonce are known for touting like Satanism and you know, goat heads and all that stuff like that now too, which is super strange for somebody who acts like they're religious and believe in God. But the narrative is these people refer to God as their God, though. They're not talking about our God. You know, they're not talking about, you know, God of the Bible. They're calling their Satan God. You know what I mean? They pray to that God. So when they say thank God and, you know, like God this, God that, they're talking about their dark God. Is the conspiracy theory. I don't know if that's factual.
Yeah.
But that's what the narrative is in the conspiracy world. I mean, you kind of have to be dark and evil to live that kind of a life, bro.
Yeah,
100%.
To live two personalities like that, man. I mean, to the extreme that they do. I mean, he plays the professional, dapper, you know, dope ass MC, hip hopper, leader of
Black
the black
mogul.
culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, like mogul. He plays that role really well. But then on the opposing end, he could potentially be a child predator, bro.
Yeah.
And at a very high level where they hurt and abuse little kids, bro. Like that's crazy gross to me.
You got to get to
Like,
the
it
bottom
makes
of
me
that. I
sick.
cannot wait.
Yeah, I hope
cannot
that this
wait to
stuff
see
comes
more go
out
down.
like real soon.
Somebody who I don't know if he'll ever speak on it, but I hope he speaks on it is Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
huge Bieber
Bro,
guy
he
when I was
hints
younger.
at it so much.
Yeah.
And Chris Brown would
Yeah.
be another one.
I heard that Justin Bieber just like unfollowed Jay-Z and everybody recently
He
too.
unfollowed
He's
Scooter
coming
Braun.
back to music,
He-
is what they're saying.
LeBron?
Scooter Braun.
Oh.
So his manager for the
Oh.
longest time. He unfollowed everybody.
Yeah.
Like all the industry people.
Yep, everybody that
Yeah.
he rose up
He's
with.
like a born again Christian, bro. He only does
Big into his
gospel
Christian
music
music.
now. He runs around with there's this guy, I can't remember his name, but he's the pastor of a church called Zoe in LA. And like I think Bieber is affiliated with them. Some of the gospel singers from like Stephen Furtick's church and whatnot. So like he's truly like walking the path, and I think that's where he's getting his courage to come out about things.
So
I
sad.
think he might one day expose it. I don't know.
Like I grew up watching him. He's not that much older than me, and I was like, I thought he was the shit. All the girls loved him. I was like, damn. Like I really liked Justin Bieber, and then people would shit on him as he got into his early teens because he was doing some dumb stuff, and then into his early 20s.
Imagine how that life would mess you up though if it's true. What we
I know. That's why he needs to get some. I don't want to like say leeway, but people need to forgive, because if this is all true and what we know, he was really involved in whatever P. Diddy did. It's super obvious.
Yeah.
So imagine going through all that. You're 16, 17. I think there was a video when he was 15 years old. He said he was going to Puff Daddy camp.
Yeah.
And that P. Diddy said that he had legal guardianship over him for the next 48 hours. And at that age and when you're that age, I don't think you quite understand the level of evil that you're being, I guess, succumb to. I don't think you understand. And now as he gets older and older and understands, I think if she's like, once P. Diddy started to he's getting wrapped up and people were really trying to arrest him and get him in jail, I think it all just came back to Justin, and then he just had his first baby too. He's married now. Like everything just came together at once. And I love Candace Owens, and she talked about how like having that child made him realize how young and naive he was, and how he had no idea what he was getting himself into. And these adults around him just ruined him.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's why I always say your generation's all fucked up, John. I tell you again and again. Yeah. I'm here to change it. My generation's gonna change it. We got this.
Your generation is still in the deal, bro.
Yeah, we are.
You guys are.
There's no changing it. I think this is the way we go, but we just gotta find a way to work through it, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
Well, see, as long as we're not like them, bro, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
From one generation to the next, I think we're all on the right path and we see clearly. So
there's just got to be a few, few difference makers, and that's what it takes.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Cool, man. Well, Dalton, man, I appreciate you coming on.
Sure, this is awesome. Thank you,
not by plan, but you filling in for Cody now, and just always coming on our show so willingly. I think we'll have you on a lot more in the future as well.
I'm sure Cody's going to want you on in a week or two.
Yeah, Cody wants to talk, I'm sure. Yeah, he wants to have some conversations. But yeah, I do, because I've been forgetting this for so many weeks in a row. There's a kid from our gym who's a friend of my son's, who's like a huge supporter of what we do, a fan. He's always commenting. He messages my son like, hey, when they didn't drop the pod this week. What's going on? It's like so he's a true follower. So I want to give him a shout out. Avery, who's a really big fan of our show, apparently.
That's awesome.
Thank you for the support, man. We appreciate you. Even if it's just one person, man, I think it's dope that somebody kind of fans what we're doing in the movement we're trying to create, man. So I appreciate it. And shout out to you, Avery. Thanks a lot for checking us out, man. And for everybody else, we appreciate you guys. We love that you guys are watching. Our podcast is growing in the thousands by the week, which is really cool. We're almost to 3,500 subscribers at this point and climbing. Yeah.
I just checked. It was like 2,200 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, bro. Like every week, I think we gain another 1,000 followers.
Well, I got to say, I saw on Instagram from, I think you and Cody, you talked about this party, this invite-only party.
Yeah, you didn't get it?
Illegal party. Oh, what? It's happening?
Are you still at the NDSU email?
No.
Oh, I sent it to a Dalton Nelson.
I think I can get into it, though.
Otherwise, I can forward it. Just give me your address. But I sent the invites out today, bro.
Find it. Good. I'm like, when's this party happening? I gotta go.
You got one for sure, bro. For sure.
Okay, good.
All right, man. Well, thanks for checking us out, everyone. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe, share. Thanks for all the input that you guys are giving and the support that you're giving us, because we are growing pretty rapidly, and I think it's awesome. Our hopes is to blow the hell up and really go viral. So with the help of all the people that do watch us and are supporting our movement right now, man, let's keep it up and let's see how far we can take this. Maybe we'll get Trump on someday.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, share the channel, tell your friends about us. Don't tell your friends about us. Talk good, talk bad, doesn't really matter as long as you're talking about us. Peace.